Hi, I'm Dan Price, and I am super excited to be here with you guys tonight. One of Pioneer Church's core beliefs and value is for everyone to find community. And even though we are not able to meet together like in an actual building, we are still building relationship and finding community in this digital atmosphere. And I am so excited to be part of that here with you tonight. These past couple weeks, Pastor Kirby has been preaching a sermon called Anxious for Nothing. And I don't know about you, but I have sure been learning a lot through the sermon series. Week 1, Pastor Kirby mentioned that your body, when you feel anxious, it like sends you an alarm clock or a reminder to pray. And so I took that to heart, and these last couple weeks, I've been praying every time I feel anxious or worried. And ever since then, I've been feeling so much better. It's like a whole 180. And so today, we are going into part 3 in the series with Pastor Danielle unpacking what Jesus says about worry. So with that being said, here's today's message.
Have you ever gotten advice that just was not helpful at all? I don't know about you guys, but when I was a first-time mom, I had a ton of people give me advice, which I was very appreciative because I had no idea what I was doing. But one of the things that so many people said was to make sure and sleep when the baby is sleeping. Which my response was, it didn't take me long to figure out, that's the one time you can actually get anything done. So if I'm sleeping when the baby is sleeping, who's doing laundry, right? Who's doing the dishes? And I just kind of thought, thanks, but that's not practical at all. That doesn't help me at all. And as we continue to talk about anxiety and worry, I have to be honest. We're going to look at what Jesus says, and I have to be honest and say, you know what? A little bit of what Jesus says kind of sounds like that. Just sleep when the baby is sleeping. It doesn't sound practical. It doesn't sound like you're living in reality, because I don't know about you, but I don't just worry about the dishes or about laundry, but instead I worry a lot about my kiddos, and are Kirby and I doing everything that we need to do to prepare them for the future? We think about our finances, and are we saving the right way? Should we spend on this? Should we spend on that? All of those type of things. Those are worries. Those things make us anxious. Those things keep me up at night. There's health issues. I have my papa, my mom's dad, actually just fell in his assisted living facility. And so my parents are navigating how to deal with an aging parent and what to do. He's 90 years old, and where's the best place for him to go? And those are just like everyday worries that when I'm sitting here doing the dishes, that constantly run through my mind and weigh me down. And then there's the year 2020 with the coronavirus and people losing their jobs and worrying about our health, and do I need to wear a mask? All of these questions that you have to try to figure out. Are my kids going to go to school, or am I going to be homeschooling them? If they do go to school, do I want them to go when everybody's wearing a mask? That can be kind of scary. And then especially with what's going on in our country right now, with the racism and just this, all of a sudden, this awareness that's of something that's always been there, and we're having to navigate, what does the right response look like, and how do I look at myself personally during this time, and then what's my response to people, and am I going to be taken the wrong way? And so there's just our everyday worries and our concerns. And then there's this year 2020, which has kind of piled everything else on it. And what Jesus has to say about worry and anxiety just doesn't seem like enough, because he says in Philippians, be anxious for nothing. Oh, thanks, Jesus. And then he says in Matthew chapter 6, he says, don't worry about your everyday life. Don't worry about your food. Don't worry about your clothes. And you're like, that's just not helpful, is it? But as you dig into it a little more, I just kind of want to, let's talk about that and what he means by that. And that actually what he's saying is just the sincere thing. So when he's talking to the disciples in Matthew chapter 6, he's not just saying, don't worry about your life. This was a group of men who had actually not lost their job, but they have left everything. They had stopped fishing. They had stopped providing income for their families. They had left their wives. They had left the mother-in-law that they were trying to provide for. And Jesus is sitting here, and he's telling Peter, and he's saying, which he actually called Simon at the time, and he was saying, look, Simon, don't worry about providing for your wife right now. Don't worry about your mother-in-law that's sick at home. You need to trust me, and I'm going to give you what you need. He was looking at Matthew, and he is saying, look, Matthew, I know you worked really hard to get where you were and being a tax collector, and you've saved, and you've never had to worry about the clothes, and you were able to buy the clothes and the shoes that you needed. But right now, I need you to trust me, and I'm going to provide for you. These were men who were used to taking care of themselves and providing everything that they needed, and they walked away from all of that, and Jesus was saying, it's okay. You can trust me. I'm going to provide for you. Later in that chapter, as he's telling them, he's talking to them about the flowers in the field and the lilies, and he's saying, look, how beautiful they are. And those are things that really don't even matter. How much more would I care for you, Simon? How much more would I care for you, Matthew, if I'm taking care of their needs, I'm going to do the same for you. And I believe during this time and season of our lives where we're not only worrying about just the everyday concerns that constantly run through our mind, but also the heaviness of 2020, Jesus is looking at us and saying, trust me. I'm going to provide everything that you need. And I find that so comforting right when I need it. It's not this just sleep when the baby's sleeping. Instead, it's like Jesus kind of pulling us close and saying, trust me. Later in that chapter, Matthew chapter 6, Jesus ends up saying, look, people who don't know me, they fill their mind with this worry and this anxiety. But instead for you, he says in verse 33, he says, look, seek the kingdom of God above all else. And basically what that means is turn all your attention, all your affection towards him. So if we're gonna start to talk about being practical, I know for myself what this means is, every time I begin to let my mind race and go down the rabbit holes of worry and anxiety, I'm gonna turn my focus and my attention on a Father in heaven who loves me. I'm gonna think about who he says he is in his word. And then again, when my thoughts begin to race with worry and anxiety, or when I fill my mind with social media and the news, instead I'm gonna turn that off and I'm gonna say, no, I'm gonna seek first the kingdom of God. And I'm going to turn on worship music so I can seek first the kingdom of God and line everything up with seeking first the kingdom of God. Because ultimately I know that I have a Father in heaven who loves me so much more than the beautiful flowers that he takes care of. And he looks at me and he says, trust me. I'm going to provide for you everything that you need.
Is that good? Is that a good angle?
That's a terrible angle. This is, I think it's officially, this is the very first father-daughter worship duo that we've had at Pioneer Church. So
yes,
that's a milestone, I think.
Well, we're honored. Thank you, Kirby.
For me and my family, we have been watching your worship songs that you've been posting over the past few months. And honestly, that has been such a blessing to us because I feel like this is the perfect year for what you guys are doing. What's happened because of COVID over the past few months is we haven't been able to meet in a church building. And so we don't have the production quality of worship that we're used to. We don't have the big worship team or the lights or the haze or the crowd or any of that stuff. And so I feel like worship, it's just really been boiled down to the simplicity of it's just me, it's my family, we're at home, and we're worshiping Jesus. And so what is your advice for people who they may be used to sort of the production of worship on a Sunday? What would your advice be for people who are trying to create a habit in their life of worshiping at home?
I would just start by just starting to pray, because that's the easiest thing to lead into worship with. If you don't know how to start, you don't usually sing or something like that, I would just start by praying.
We're fortunate enough that we own a business and we live in close proximity to the business. So if Maddie says, hey, I'm going to go play the piano, or if I'm going to go over here and do this, then it's a no holds barred, and she's got two little brothers that jump right in with her, and they you don't want to hear them though. And so I think the biggest deal for us is in Proverbs. It talks about, in God's eyes, doing what's right and doing what's just in your community is more important than religious performance. And we are emphatic about worship never being a performance. Never. And I'm the worst worship performer in the world, honestly. And it's hard. It's hard to keep up with worship performance. It's hard to keep up with all the lights, the sound, the haze. And I know that the coronavirus and COVID has drastically affected all of that. And there's part of me that thinks that God's all right with that,
I'm excited to hear you guys lead us in a song, and so I just want to turn it over to you right now.
wept till I found my strength. Lost your breath down to save me. Now I'll never go back to that grave. Can't praise you enough. If time were stopped, I could never tell it all. Words of you, this will have to do. I just wanna thank you. I just wanna thank you. I just wanna thank you. I'm so grateful. I just wanna thank you. I just wanna thank you. I just wanna thank you. I'm so grateful.
So grateful for you, Lord.
I just wanna thank you
So grateful for you,
for
Lord.
all that you do.
You alone are worthy, Lord.
Even when I don't see you working, even when I don't feel like you're working, never stop, you never stop working. Never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see you working, even when I don't feel like you're working, never stop, you never stop working. Never stop, you never stop
When I
working.
don't see it,
Even when I don't see you working, even when I don't feel like you're working, never stop, you never stop working. Never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see you working, even when I don't feel you working, never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working.
thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are.
Miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are.
Who you are, Lord. Who you are, Lord. Who you are,
Never stop
Lord.
working, never stop.
Who you are, Lord. Never stop working. We don't have to worry, Lord. You're working.
I just wanna thank you. I just wanna thank you. I'm so grateful. I just wanna thank you. I just wanna thank you. I just wanna thank you. I'm so grateful.
Also, I wanted to mention too, you guys just started a brand new nonprofit.
The name of our nonprofit is called Bread and Table. And basically it is supper table conversations about our life, limitations, and the hope that we found in Jesus. And we're not a church at all, but we've been blessed as business owners to have an incredible venue There's 5 branches to the tree of Bread and Table. Every week, we're just going to feed people for free. The community, whoever wants to stop by, those that are in need. Also, we are supplying school supplies for our local school district, for teachers and for students as well. Third arm is a massive, huge garden, a community garden that's free for people that need fresh produce. The fourth arm of this is groceries. We raise funds to help supply groceries for families in need. And then the fifth arm is flowers. Because we own a wedding venue, we have the luxury of every weekend just about having an enormous amount of flowers that are brought in. So we take those flowers and we rearrange them and we give them to widows and nursing homes around us.
Well, there it is, Bread and Table. Make sure to check it out. Thank you so much, Bear and Maddie, for joining us this week and sharing your gift with us.